Mark Rice, we have it up here. During his 34 years at the Ledger-Enquirer, Rice's award-winning journalism has covered nearly every topic in the Chattahoochee Valley, including education, sports, government, politics, business, crime, and features. Most recently, he won first place for his investigative reporting and for education writing in the 2025 Georgia Press Association contest. With that, let's go ahead and, there we are. Come on up, Mark, please.
Thanks, Al. Is this working okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Fantastic. Thanks for Ron for setting me up with the audio. So, and thank you for being here and thank you for having me out. This is my first time at UU, but we already have something wonderful in common. We're all friends with Jackie. So Jackie invited me, and if Jackie invites me, I have to say yes. So if it hasn't become apparent right now, it will be pretty shortly. I am not a professional public speaker. I'm a professional reporter and editor, so bear with me. But I hope this isn't me just speaking. I hope this is really a conversation that you will have with me and I will have with you. So your job is to interrupt me. I'll say it again. Your job is to interrupt me. So if you, there you go. So if you have a question, ask it. Okay? That's okay. Because this is going to be a dialogue, not a monologue. Okay? We will have formal Q&A at the end. But if you have a question, raise your hand. If I don't see you, holler at me, and please ask it so we can have a good time. So the slide says I'm going to talk about how the internet has affected the Ledger-Enquirer. But to get there, I just need to give you a little bit of background and why I thought this was important to talk about. So, as the previous slide said, I came here 34 years ago. Do the math, what year was that? Come on.
92.
1992, okay? So 1992, just think back in your mind what you were doing in your life in 1992 and what sort of the world was like. And then also think about how did you get your news in 1992. Don't answer that yet, but just think about it, and then we're going to have a conversation about it, okay? But let me tell you what was going on at the Ledger-Enquirer in 1992, and that will maybe help you understand where we are now in 2026, 34 years later. So in 1992, the Ledger-Enquirer was only 6 years after the Ledger and the Enquirer merged. So raise your hand if you remember when the Ledger and Enquirer were two separate newspapers. Okay, now you can check me on this if I get this wrong, but the Enquirer was in the morning and the Ledger was in the afternoon. But they both were published in the same building. Now you ask, well, why is that? Why do you need two separate newspapers if it's the same company? So you can, this is your turn. Why were there two separate newspapers in Columbus
Stay
from the
current.
same company? Yes, sir.
Stuff happens after the first one's printed.
There you go.
Morning
Okay, someone else?
and morning and afternoon.
Morning and afternoon. You know, a lot of people's their lifestyles, right? This was a big mill town too, right? So lots of people had different lifestyles when they needed to get their news. In 1992, how did most people get their news? Either a newspaper or the radio or TV, right? Okay, and something in their hands, something in their ears, something in their eyes, okay? So, 1992, we had two separate newspapers, the same company, okay? Why do you think they ended up merging, and a lot of papers in similar towns all over the country, afternoon and morning newspapers merged pretty much around the same time in the 1980s. This was 1986 when Ledger-Enquirer. Why do you think they merged? Anyone? Yes?
Alternative sources,
Yes, like what?
like CNN.
Yeah, I think CNN started in 19... When did CNN start? Someone could Google that. But cable news, certainly, but other sources of news, absolutely. More competitors. Any other ideas? Yes,
This is what happens to big businesses and medium-sized businesses. They converge over time.
yes, yes. But remember when I talked about the mill town, right? When did mills start closing in Columbus and consolidation of millwork, and that lifestyle slowly started going away? When was that? Around the 80s, right? 80s and 90s, that started going away. So there was less of a need for an afternoon and a morning paper, okay? So Ledger Enquirer merged, yes, someone else?
CNN launched in 1980.
What's that?
CNN launched
Okay,
in
well, there you go,
1980.
so Ron's right, okay? So, and other cable news outlets. So there's more competition, more ways of getting news. So here we are in 1992, 6 years after merger. I come to the Ledger Enquirer. I'm wondering, any ideas about how many people were working at 12th Street and Broadway for the Ledger Enquirer in 1992? Just guess.
Jensens.
Who said 200? Very good.
Wow.
Around 200, a little bit more actually. So we had a 6-story office tower and this Mediterranean style stucco building, and we had a printing press that shook the whole block. And that printing press ran 24/7, printing our products and also about $3 million worth of commercial printing for other services in the Chattahoochee Valley. Okay. We had over 200 people, as I said, in the company at the Ledger Enquirer. We had about 70 of those were in the newsroom itself. Okay? So that was the operation in 1992. 34 years later, how many people you think that are working for the Ledger Enquirer now?
5, 12, guess around 20.
Okay, less than 10. Okay. Where do we print our newspaper?
Macon.
Not Macon,
Yes.
in Biloxi, Mississippi. Okay. Hal was part of our delivery system. I'm not going to say how many years ago when he was a paper boy. Okay. How do you get the newspaper now?
Post office.
Post office. It's through the mail. How often do we have a printed product per week?
2.
2 days per week, Wednesday and Sunday, from 7 days a week to in the mail 2 days a week. We have less than 10 people working for the Ledger Enquirer. Guess what?
It shows.
And we can talk about that. Guess what? Because of that thing called the internet, we are reaching more people than we did in 1992. Okay? So, we are 1/10 of the operation that we were, but we're reaching more people. That's what technology does to really any business, and what it did to the Ledger Enquirer and journalism at large. Now let me talk a little bit about the bigger picture, and then we'll narrow it down to the Ledger Enquirer. So, when that thing called the internet was invented by Al Gore, right? What did the newspaper industry think about the internet? What was our initial reaction, the leadership of our industry? What did we think that this internet thing would do for the newspaper industry?
That will never fly.
Okay, that will never fly. What were some other reactions?
They laughed at it.
They laughed at it. What were other reactions? How did we think we would use it? Research? Yeah, that's good. How else? Advertising, very good. Okay. We thought of it as a way to market our product. We thought of our product as what? A newspaper, emphasizing the paper part of the news, right? That's what we did. We printed a newspaper every day that was delivered to your doorstep to tell you the news. Well, guess what? No one thought, at least at that point, that this is our product now. Okay? No one thought that this is going to change the way we deliver the news, just like the telegraph changed, the radio changed, the TV changed news. We didn't think that this was what our future was going to be. So what we did was, we thought we were going to market our content to you, so we gave away our content that we paid lots of people, took lots of time to produce. We're going to give it to you for free on the information superhighway. And we did that for probably about 2 decades. For about 20 years, we gave away our content for free. And one day we realized this ain't working anymore. Okay? So imagine you're going to your favorite restaurant for 20 years and you have this wonderful meal, you keep coming back, and you walk out without paying. And then one day the restaurant owner says, well, you know what? I really like you coming here, but guess what? You're going to need to start paying for that hamburger. And you're going to say what? No, because I can get that hamburger down the street for free still. Okay? So you go to another place, and then they start saying, well, you know what? Maybe we should charge too. So we developed a habit, we mean the grand poobahs of the newspaper industry, said that we can give away our content for free, and now we're asking you for pay for it. Guess what? If you're upset, we should just blame ourselves, because we developed the habit that our content is for free. And so now we're paying for that decades later. So when you hit a paywall, whether it's at the Ledger Enquirer or the New York Times or anywhere, there's a reason for that. Okay? Because also, part of our business model has been broken. How did newspapers get most of their revenue before that thing called the internet? Not circulation. Advertising. Why would an advertiser, why would any company pay the newspaper to advertise in their newspaper? What were they thinking they were getting for that money that they were paying for that ad? Exposure to whom? But how did they know? How did they know how many people were seeing their ad?
By your circulation.
By their circulation numbers. And we were audited. There was an independent auditor that would audit every single newspaper to see if the circulation numbers that you said you had were verified. But guess what? Even that was guesswork, okay? How many people, whether now or decades later, decades earlier, when you picked up the newspaper, you read it, if you thought you read it cover to cover, did your eyes actually land on every single ad?
No.
Maybe, but probably not, okay? But that was the best guess that those advertisers had, that we had a captured audience, you paid for that newspaper, so you had a vested interest in the product. So the guess was, again, it's a guess, the advertiser said, more chances than not, you're gonna look at my ad. But they didn't know. Okay, how did we as a newspaper staff, how did we know what readers wanted before the internet? How do we know what to cover?
Guesswork, surveys.
Guesswork, number one. Surveys, sure, number two. How else?
Letters to the editor.
Letters to the editor, very good. Tradition, excellent. Any other ways? Often it was someone stopped me in the grocery store. Oh, Mark, I love your story about so-and-so. Gee, I got to do more of those, right? Or, oh, Mark, I hate that. Oh, I got to do less of that. So, but that goes to the guesswork, right? And talk about surveys. Now we know people lied on those readership surveys, including some of y'all. Because you often answered what you thought would be the right, upstanding, civic duty kind of answers, right? But not whether Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married, right? But we know that now what you read. How do we know what you read?
Clicks on the internet.
Clicks on the internet. Okay. What's that?
Shared data.
And exactly. Okay. So now let's go back to our friends, the advertisers. Okay. What do the advertisers know about what you read and how they spend their money? How's that different with the internet age of advertising versus the pre-internet days?
Much more accurate.
Much more accurate. So now an advertiser doesn't necessarily want to pay for all the readership. They want to pay for only people who read such and such types of story, because that's the demographic that they want to go to. So as you'll notice, if you look at our website, you might see ads on our homepage, but most of our ads are actually, after you click the story, is where you're going to get most of the ads. Okay? Because they don't want to pay for everybody. Why should I pay for eyeballs that aren't going to look at my content? I want to pay for a more narrow audience. And so our newspaper model of business and revenue really has been broken. So now we're asking you to help us out for our mistake. So let's talk about the community journalism in general, and then we're going to talk about the Ledger Enquirer more specifically. What's happened to newspapers, whether our size or a little bit bigger or even smaller, all across America, community journalism in the past 20 years? Is it trending upward or downward?
Downward.
Why?
Digital.
Okay. Are people not interested in community news anymore? No. How are they getting their news?
Social media.
Social media.
Large national news.
Large national news. Okay. But I'm talking about how are they getting their community news? Like what happened at city council? What happened at the school board? What are the issues that are affecting their local community?
It's all available somewhere on the internet.
Available somewhere on the net. So a lot of municipalities, a lot of governing authorities, they publish their agendas on the internet. Okay, a lot of council meetings, a lot of board meetings, a lot of commission meetings, they're live streamed on the internet.
The interest in those kinds of things is also incredibly down to begin with.
Yes, and we can talk about that too. So there's a hyper-local interest. Some people are even more interested, but if you're motivated, you're going to find ways other than the Ledger Enquirer to find out that information. You'll either personally attend the council meeting, you can watch it on a live stream, you can join social media pages that talk about the issues, right? And to your point, some people just don't care.
There's also news outlets that you can go to for free that will show it.
Exactly. So it's more of a fractured audience, and it's more competitors. Okay, so newspapers across the country have been folding. Okay, one because of a revenue problem, and two because of an audience problem, and that's a bad combination for a newspaper. Okay, so I think it's apropos that I'm talking about this on July 5th, one day after celebrating our independence. Journalism, although they didn't call it then, they call it the press, is the only profession that's actually protected in the Constitution. And I think that's a good thing. So if we don't value it by our habits, what we do with our thumbs, what we do with our eyeballs, what we do with our money, one day it could go away. So I'm here to ask you to support your local news, because it's not a guarantee. There are plenty of examples of what we call news deserts, where communities that don't have any local news, they don't have anyone watching their city government, watching their school board, talking about issues, asking questions, having a civic discussion, and that's sad. And so when that goes away, there's a little bit of a light that goes out in that community, and darkness descends. So we're only as good as the information we have. So if we need to know about something, we can sort of sit around and theorize and think that we're talking to the right sources, but maybe we're not. So if you want to see something in the Ledger Enquirer, contact me. And we can talk about how to do that. I guess I should have put that up on the slide, but it's my first initial, last name, so mrice@ledger-enquirer.com. Okay, and if you want my card, I can give it to you at the social part of this program afterwards. But we're only as good as the information we have. So we have to have, just like this needs to be a dialogue, not a monologue. Our newspaper is only as good as the information we're getting from our community. So if there are folks in the community who care about an issue that we could shed some light on, that we could pursue a question, that we could do an investigation, we could celebrate someone helping make the world a better place, we could put a spotlight on someone who's doing wrong, let us know about it. Often, as I said to someone else during a discussion earlier, if you're talking about it with your family or your friends, or posting about it on social media, it's probably a news story that we would like to at least consider. we can't say yes to something we don't know about. Sometimes we have to say no or not right now. But I welcome your input and your dialogue. So I'll take any questions if we have some more time. Al? There you go. Questions and comments? Now it's official.
All right, now it's official. Any questions? All right, my hand first.
One of my big concerns about the question of the press and journalism is the loss of investigative
Yeah.
journalism.
Yeah,
Because you can find alternate sources for everyday community events or your 6 o'clock news type
Right.
events. But true investigative journalism is going away, and that to me is kind of scary.
right. So I agree with you. A lot of that has to do with just resources, number of people available to do such a thing. As you so well know, that takes time. But guess what? It's not away. There's just more challenges. I'll give you just 2 examples in the past week of investigative journalism that Ledger Enquirer did that is content you didn't see anywhere else from any other media. We reported about why the outdoor warning sirens did not sound when a tornado landed in Columbus. And we also reported about at least $500 million that will be spent for the new wastewater treatment plant in Columbus and who's going to pay for it. And again, that was content that was not in a news release, was not anywhere else, but the Ledger Enquirer's reporters asked that question and we got answers. So investigative journalism is still happening. And if you don't support it, those types of stories go away. Yeah.
My file cabinet, I have a
Oh, hold on
lot
a second.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
of various news
Then
items.
start over.
Yeah, in my file cabinet, I have a lot of clippings about specific news items, that I was interested in.
Yep. So, I mean, we still have that printed product. I mean, 2 days a week. There are major American cities that don't have a daily newspaper, a printed newspaper. Atlanta, New Orleans, Birmingham, Seattle. Doesn't exist. We're fortunate we're still printing 2 days a week. Maybe one day that goes down to 1 day a week, or maybe one day that goes away completely. But we're actually still, that product, the printed product, which is now a very minor part of our business, because we're a digital media company now, is still making money. So that's why you're still getting it. But one day that might go away too.
You say you're still making money. Well, you're already kind of answering the question I had for you, because you went from 200 to like you're down to 20 now. Do you
Less than, I would love 20. We're less than 10.
Oh, okay. So do you continue? Do you see in the foreseeable future you'll continue that trend will continue to go downward? You'll disappear like the other cities? What's driving your revenue that you are able to make at this point?
Right. So you asked a lot there. So in terms of like the number of people, I don't see us cutting any more people. I mean, but that's not a decision. That's way above my pay grade. But I don't see how that's possible. But maybe they would. In terms of revenue, our main revenue is still advertising, but we're still trying to get people subscribed to our digital content. You can subscribe to just the paper, but you also get the digital content, so why not access the digital content? You can also have a digital-only subscription, so you don't get the paper at all, but you have unlimited access to our digital content. So we have different levels of subscription. But advertising is still our main revenue model. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I have kind of
Yes.
a follow-up question to
Yeah.
that, and to John's point about the newspaper clippings. One of my favorite things is the archives at Public
Yeah.
Library, where I can go back and
Yeah.
look at old
Right.
newspaper clippings. How do you access that now that everything's digital? Do you have an archive of that?
Right, so we do, I get this quite often, actually, requests. I'm happy to, I look up stuff So our personal archive is not open to public, but I can access it for people, and again, I get those requests. But you should know that all of our product, whether it's the printed version or digital, that is archived in the CSU library and the Columbus Public Library. They archive our editions too. So that's, I think, most accessible through microfilm. Is that how you found it?
Microfilm, and I think some of them were actually printed copies.
Okay, well, there you go. So I think they still are getting the printed copies. Yeah.
Kelsey, can we catch that at lunch? You're gonna be here for lunch, right? Because I'd like to get going. I
Yes.
hate to say that. We can ask this other questions, and I've got other people with their hands up.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, you're gonna be here for lunch?
Yes, I'll be here for lunch.
You'll be here for lunch?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all I'm doing.